Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Supercoach Challenges, and today we're going to be looking at the team lineups for round 12, and we'll probably finalize the picks for the team because, yeah, if you watched the last video, it was a bit of a mess at the end there. We can really figure out what was going on with the buys, and I think looking at it today with the green dots actually there has really kind of helped out with that. So we'll sort that out, and then we'll, get the team ready for the buys and hopefully some decent scores. So looking first, we've got Melbourne versus Carlton, and as everyone has wished, Alex Chincotta is back in the team, which is great. And he's taken an on-field position. Yeah, on-field position, back pocket. Hopefully that's still the running back for them, but which it looks like it will, because I think Young will probably play more of that stay-at-home back and let Chincotta get a bit of more of a run with the ball, which is great. Looking at who else they brought in, because we kind of knew he's probably going to come in because we had Durden injured, Pitnet injured, like so many injuries. Plus, we nearly had Cherry suspended, but he's held his spot, and they have actually dropped Kerno, so he played sub last week. So they've obviously opted for something a little bit different here. And yeah, hopefully Chincotta can have a good game, because I think if he does play well, they'll stick with him, because I think Carlton are looking for answers from their players, looking for some form from their players, and we really need him through the bye. For Melbourne, not much different here. Nothing's really changed. If we look at the team, they've added Tomlinson. I think Tomlinson was actually quite fair price. I don't know why. Who was out just then? So Tomlinson is a 302k defender, so probably not someone you want to get in. I think he had 280s or something early. Smith and Hunter's in for Harms. Harms has been omitted, and Hibberd and McDonald are injured. So as soon as Hibberd's back in, Tomlinson goes back out. So that's the swap there. And Jordan was a sub. I assume he's not even on for sub. So Harms is going to play the sub, which we'll see. That's probably why they moved him out. And Smith is on an interchange, so not the safest mix. I can't believe Van Rooyen has actually kept his spot all this time, because we were so worried about the job security with him, and he seems to be like a player that we haven't had to worry about. And just kind of as a reminder that sometimes these top teams, I think you need to go on look at the coach more than the actual who the team is, because like if, for example, you look at Melbourne versus Geelong, Melbourne in a lot better form yet, whereas Geelong seem to be the team that's dropping their younger players more sporadically. So that's something to keep in mind for next year. But nevertheless, not too bad with these teams. I think Smith's, I don't think he's relevant, is he? Joel Smith, 220k defender. He hasn't had his bubble game. I think he's had one game, and he hasn't played at all this year. That's interesting. So he could possibly be a downgrade, I guess. But I assume he's only in for McDonald. I don't think his scoring was great. Or did he just get injured? Let's have a look at Joel Smith. Supercoach statistics. So he's averaged like 50. So yeah, not great. Last year he played a little bit. His high score was 64, so probably not someone we're really going to be looking at. And it looks like he kind of went out of favour. Maybe he was injured. I don't know what the arrow means, but anyway, that's enough for that. Melbourne, Port Adelaide, Hawthorn. So actually a couple. I don't think Mead was really rookie price, but Francis Evans was someone that people brought in. I think he was sub last week, so that's probably where he's moved to. Sin is in the emergency still. So that could be a debut we might be looking at. And hopefully, if he doesn't play this week, then if he plays the next 2 weeks after that, he would be prime after his bye for a downgrade if he comes in. But it does look like Evans is the sub. And for Hawthorn, not much here. I mean, Mackenzie's been managed, but a lot of us had already moved on from him. And Sicily is on the suspension with Scrimshaw coming in. Now, when they say manage, maybe he's going to play sub. I thought Mackenzie didn't play too bad last week. So, interestingly, also, Meek has moved to full forward in the teams, and Reeves is the ruck. So, if you were trying to go on that little switch with Meek, I think a couple of weeks ago, his break even's quite low. It's definitely time to get off that. West Coast. So obviously there was also the mid-season draft yesterday, so it'll be interesting to see what players kind of become relevant in that. And yeah, it would be nice to see some of them get a game. I assume that there will be a couple that will get a game at some point, and West Coast probably straight away. All other good news is that people who are still holding Noah Long, he's still playing. Scoring potential, not looking great, but he is still getting a game, so points on field is good. Hewitt, Chesser are both in the emergencies. I'm not sure whether either of them play sub. Yeah, probably one to have dropped off of. But we still have him in this team. Yeah, probably a few of you still out there held him because of West Coast injuries, but it does look like he's going to have a hard time getting back into the team. And for Collingwood, they are going to have a debutant in Harvey Harrison, which is actually a decent debutant buy because we will get him after his if he gets the next 2 games, we will get him off of the bye or the bubble, and we need downgrade options in round 15, so that is good because he has the round 14 bye, so we play round 12, hopefully play round 13, then round 14 bye, so we can get him off that, which is nice. And they have coming off that bye the Crows at the MCG, which should actually be decent, and then Gold Coast after that. So yeah, maybe he can score fairly well. I don't really know too much about him, but that looks like a good downgrade option for when we're trying to get those final upgrades done. Not much else here. Jamison, he's played a bit, hasn't he? 231k rock. He's actually lost money, so probably not someone we want to look at either. I mean, maybe he could come good, but yeah, it does not look likely, especially playing on the bench. They're definitely sticking with Bailey Williams. So for the Dogs, Treloar is back. And where is he named? Because that is going to be the interesting thing. And he's named straight into the followers. And I feel like that is a scary thing for anyone looking at Jack Macrae as a DPP potential player. I mean, he's probably going to score enough for your F6, but they could be, it could get bad. I mean, I guess his time hasn't really changed that much. Like the CBAs didn't rise that much, and maybe this is going to be how they name the list. But I mean, name the sheet, but that's not necessarily going to be how they run out for the game. And Macrae might get a bit more CBA time. But we'll see about that. Another good thing for the Cats is Parfitt has been omitted. So and Nevitt has been held. So those people who won on Nevitt, that's great. And Oyson Mullen has also kept his spot. So he's also looking prime for a downgrade in round 14. And he's 102k, which is very, very nice. And yeah, the rookies are looking a little bit better, but I still don't like picking Geelong players because, yeah, they don't like to play the young players for too long. They like to chop and change, but, you know, it really killed Nevitt and ruined for us. Nevitt's, yeah, Cashton's, yeah, been killed with that game, and he came on from sub and scored a 40 in the last quarter. So imagine if the bloke got a full game, it would have been really good for the holders, but we had to miss out on that, and because of that, people had to field other players and probably got burnt by it as well. But good to see he has held this position. But yeah, Dangerfield coming back soon, and who else outside of Rowan? I think there was a couple others maybe that outside of Rowan as well. So hopefully now that just plays well enough where they can't drop him, would be nice. And maybe they decide to rest some of these guys, but coming off the bye, I highly doubt it. The Crows and Gold Coast. So Parnell has been dropped fully from the team, so that's not good for the sub chances, probably because they're going to play McHenry in that position. Not much here to talk about. I mean, Hinge, we had him in this team. Now he's back. Was it a two week injury? No, it's a 1 weeker. So he's back, and Smith is also back, who was a late out, which could mean that McHenry, I mean, like if he gets called out late again, then McHenry could come in, and then that could mean that the sub does become Parnell again. But interesting to see. And the only person out from Gold Coast is McAndrew with a club suspension. and we're not seeing any of Charlie Constable, which is very annoying. A few people would have been hoping for him, but seemingly we are not going to see Charlie Constable, which is a little bit frustrating because he is just tearing up the VFL. But obviously, Gold Coast have different plans, playing Braden Fiorini as a back flanker. So, I'm sure that is going to go brilliant. And Lukosius and Holman on the wings. I mean, I know they won last week, so I guess you can't change much really. You just keep the team and keep playing. But yeah, it just seems a strange position with Fiorini playing off the back line. But obviously Constable is out of favour, and they have actually kept Atkins and Long, so people were kind of worried about Atkins, especially with his last game getting dropped, which a lot of people would not have been happy about who brought him in. If his role has changed, though, that it isn't great. I feel like McAndrew, can that help him? Not sure, but I think the one that they said they brought in was Rosas, wasn't it? That was taking it. Was it Rosas or was it wasn't Farah? Oh no, it was Joel Jeffrey. That's who it was who'd come in and was playing that back flank, kicking rebounding role bits. So will be interesting to see. GWS, so Matt Flynn is in. This is extended benches though, so assume that he probably doesn't play. He looks like maybe being another sub, which is great for those young players. Really make him debut as a sub. Love that for them. Himmelberg's back, named at half forward, so not getting that defensive capability he had last year. For the Tigers, Cumberland, Banks, and Dow. So Banks is new. He's not who they drafted in the in the mid-season draft. That was a Glenelg lad. I can't remember his name. But not much changing here. I don't think either. I mean, I don't think Cumberland, Banks, or Dow really play. Well, looking at the bench, you'd think Mansell plays. I guess Miller could get dropped, and then maybe it is this four that play. So will be interesting to see. They did kind of kill Samson Ryan by bringing Ben Miller in. And who did they play last week? Richmond played Port Adelaide, which seems a strange thing to bring in three big men for that. Maybe they were trying to stretch him up forward, not sure. And the Bombers, so Brett Montgomery is new, but I assume it's just because he hasn't played, because he must have been named last week. He must have been. Steele's back straight into the team, I assume. Maybe he's on the interchange because they're not sure if he's going to be able to pull up well for it. North are bringing in Core, Curtis Taylor, Darcy Tucker, Shields, and Taron Thomas, with Curtis and Lazaro omitted. Sadly, it does not look like Drury is going to get back into this team, which is a bit frustrating for those who went on him, including us in this team. And it's going to be interesting to see how they name this. I assume that the guys missing will be, I think Phoenix Spicer could actually lose his spot. And you assume Power's being named, and Power and maybe Phillips. So maybe Aaron Thomas would have to be getting named. And he could be an interesting pick, especially because he was touted start of season to be actually quite a good choice for us. So let's look at Taron Thomas. Yeah, so 295k mid forward. We were talking about him, and he could be a very interesting late ad as well. Hopefully he doesn't play this week and he plays the next two, so that we can get him off his bye off the bubble. It could be an interesting downgrade option, especially if he's scoring well, and it would be good to see 2 games before the bye and then him get his shot. But I think he's probably into the team this week, and I think they've known that they needed his talent, even with all the off-field woes. It was kind of a guy they were never going to get rid of, even with everything that was happening. And hopefully he sorted it all out, and he can play some good footy for him, because the North really need it. So looking at the team now, The green dots just make this a lot easier to look at, I tell you that much. So Chincotta getting game has helped us, and Davey could potentially as well. But what I'm wanting to do is, and I've been, because what we were noticing is, right, we've got round 13, we're going to be fine because we'll have Goulden and Brayshaw come back in. So we're only realistically losing one spot with Wits out. And we're going to hold on to Darcy, which might not be necessarily the best. I just think that downgrading him might not be the best option. I mean, there's so many ways we could go with this, right? We could downgrade and upgrade Darcy, right? Darcy could go straight to a English, but round 14 is not a good buy for us anyway. Round 13, we got our man Wits. And then round 14, the choices are Darcy Cameron, who's a ruck forward anyway. So if we want him, we can get him later because he's got a big break even. Riley O'Brien, who's not really relevant. Sam Draper, who's not really relevant. And then we've got three others. Who else are playing? Hawthorn, neither of their rucks are relevant. Melbourne, so Gawn and Grundy, but neither of them are relevant either, which leaves the last team for that round being West Coast, and neither of their rucks are relevant. So it's not like you really want to ruck from there either. So realistically, we might as well just hold Darcy. And we don't need him for next round because we're going to have plenty of players. So that's fine. And then round 15, we're probably going to trade Ryan, and then hopefully Darcy's back. But even if we trade Ryan, we can always get McAndrew maybe. Someone around that level that can just slip into this spot. And thinking through this now a little bit more, I think that so we've gone Brayshaw this week actually, which is fine because the problem is I'm looking at this round 14 bye. And what are we missing? We're missing probably 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players. And we've got 1 and 2. So that's 7. So we need to get to 4 missing on field. So that would mean we need to trade 3 guys out. And, that would be Warple, Weddle, and probably Mitchell. So, we could do it. It would be fine, but we'd probably be resting on 18. Whereas, and then round 15... we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players, which is too many, way too many. But Baker, Chincotta, take 2, so 8. But Baker, Chincotta, Horn Francis probably, and Sheezer will probably go then as well. So, and Samson Ryan's probably in there to go as well. So that could kind of fix itself up as well. But what I'm thinking is maybe we don't go Dawson. He's got 130 break even. So even if he goes 150 this week, it's probably not the end of the world. And potentially we're probably going to leave him till after the bye then. But now we look at our field and we've got, we've got 21 playing. And I just think the value of the return of having 21 is probably not that great. I think 20 is going to be a fine number to cover 2 players who score badly. And if we do have players that score badly, probably a lot of the teams are fielding 18 and they've got guys like Day, Chincotta, Weddle, Mitchell, other teams are getting those scores. And people have Dawson. So, it's not really like we're gaining that much, and we're probably hurting ourselves for round 14, especially. It looks like it's going to be an issue. So what I'm thinking instead of going Dawson is we move Chincotta back, and it's good that he's playing now because it does help us out. And what we do is we look for someone in this round 12 bye, because after this round, so I'm not really keen on anyone around 13. Geelong, because we've got the guys we want from there. I mean, Rao's all right, but he's probably too expensive. So we go round 12 is where we want to play it from. And what we might actually do is we might do it from here. So we go because we can use the Supercoach Plus a bit easier in here. So, and we go, let's just go average to start. So, players we've got looking at here is Sarong, which would seem to be nice. But we do have Brayshaw, so I'm probably going to stick on the Brayshaw train. Sarong, Ryan, maybe. Ryan could be the cheap defender we go for, but he's really dropped off since his big start. I mean, this 120, 127 is nice, but the 85, 84, 91, I mean, this is probably a hard schedule, especially the SCG game against Sydney, because it is like he likes to move and get easy kicks down back, and you can't really do that in Sydney. So an 85 is probably not that bad, and he's in the right age category. So I don't necessarily mind Luke Ryan as a pick. And they do have a really nice run. So I might have to think about him a bit more than I'd like to. And then we've got Marshall, who if I had a ruck forward, I'd do it. Like if someone had got forward ruck eligibility, like a Marshall still had it, then I'd probably go him. Lockie Neal. So Neal's a nice one. They have quite a few games at the Gabba coming up. The ones that aren't at the Gabba are against decently easy teams. So Hawthorn, St Kilda, decently easy to score against. Melbourne at the MCG. So Melbourne have been letting big scores go to midfielders. Then Geelong at the Gabba. So we like that. Gold Coast, HBS. Gold Coast let huge scores. Fremantle is a revenge game, if you believe in it. And he does normally go fairly big against them, so I do like that. And then Adelaide at the Gabba should be good. Collingwood is probably the worst game that he has coming up. So, I feel like Neil is really in that zone of where we kind of want to get, who we want to get. Other players, Lloyd seems a little bit risky. Warner, I like Warner. I think next year is probably his year. It's just at the moment you look at his scoring. So he goes 114, 80, and then he goes to 59, and then he boosts to 137, 80, 61, then 123. I was thinking maybe it's just the SCG where he likes to get big scores, but then he had this at Marvel. And if we look at the Carlton game last week, he actually kicked 4 goals and got a 112. So what would that have been without that? That's the question we have to ask. Sinclair has such a, St Kilda have a nice run. The problem with Sinclair is he keeps scoring crap, like absolute crap. And it'd be nice for him to get a big score this week, but then and kind of arrest this break even. So a 96 is going to take that to 144. If he can get 130, that'd be great, because this probably comes down to 110, which is a lot more manageable. And Sinclair has been that. Sinclair has been the up and down player this year. It's kind of one I'd probably just rather wait on, to be honest. And then Parker, I was liking Parker until he's got a 77 and he's suspended anyway, so no use. And then below here, the only other one you probably think about Steele, maybe Blakey. Blakey, I just think that once Lloyd's out of this back line, Blakey becomes the new Lloyd. He'll just be running out of that back line. He'll be the main distributor. Getting all the kickouts as well, which is going to be great. But until Lloyd's gone, they just both hurt each other. And then outside of that, Mills will be good once he's back, and he's going to lose a lot of money. So, he'll probably be one we pick up if we have the space. But that does not look manageable to even round 16. So that's way after the buys, and we're probably not even going to look at that. So, but he's probably going to come down to what? Mills. So he's probably up 51k. Yeah, down 45, down 80k. He could be as low as 385. And that's for the projected score of 68. So probably don't take that into account. And he can go 200s as well. He did it last year. So probably realistically around the 400, 410 mark, probably 410, 420 marks where he will end up. Because he probably got an 80 or a 90 against, although his average isn't great against St Kilda. But yeah, there's not much else here, like Wanganeen unless we're going to keep. So I'm thinking we go Neil. Because then Neil helps us with that round 14 buy. and we're not as congested there. And it's also cheaper by about 20K. So, 16K. So we save 16K. And yeah, so we got another buy in here. But look, we got 6. We've got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we got 20. So 2 of these guys score bad. And to be honest, Humphrey, a lot are playing 95% on field out of 20% team. 89% are playing Chandler on field. Mitchell would be, 46% owned, and 92% are starting. Ford's gonna rush up. He's 33%. He's gonna be so. That's gonna be huge. Like even Horn Francis is 26% owned. So we're not. It's gonna be all about guys like Witz. If Witz goes big, we're gonna do well because Witz is 10% owned. 100% probably fielded, but he's going to be a nice pod. Guys like Warple. Warple's probably poddish now yet. Day, 22% of teams have him. So, these guys over 20%, we don't need to worry about as much. And it's more the guys outside of that. So we do that. We got this extra buy. So we've got 20 on field. Round 13, we're going to have 1, 2 on field. Mid forward here, so that's going to be good. We'll have 21 here, and then round 14 we come round 2, and we're going to have 1, 2. So we're going to have 7 here, 4 here, so that's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 16, which is a lot more manageable, and we're going to trade out Day and Warple, maybe not Day, Warple and probably Chandler. So that will get us to 18 easy, and then round 14 we'll roll into, and we'll be fine with that. Round 15, and we could even bring in some round 14 players. So, and this might be where we get like round 14 might be where we get like a Steele or something. Because Steele's got a big break even, but I think he'll come good. And then here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, possibly 15. So we can do that with a boost. So we should be fine. So yeah, I'm glad that this has been thought through now. And yeah, been good to get that. The buys are set, and we should be ready to go. Let's get to optimizing this. So that's optimized. So 1762 VC captain. What's going on here? Bloody hell, the optimization really changes things. Yeah, it obviously sucks that Darcy got the injury now, but it's probably the best time to hold him, which is good. He wasn't playing this week anyway. Probably don't need him next week. And yeah, even weeks after that, looks like we're going to be able to carry him through if we have to. And even if we can't, we can always trade, and we can look at a Gorn, or because Gorn's not going to play the week after, or we can look at Darcy Cameron or something like that, because even a Darcy Cameron wouldn't be too bad just as the ruck cover for Darcy anyway. So we're going to pass up on Briggs because I don't think the trades are going to allow us to get him in the end. Yeah, looking at our upgrades we have left. We get Neil on. This is what I spent a lot of time on last game. Last time we have, assuming Darcy comes back. And we might just go McAndrew if he gets named, just so that he's on. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 players we realistically have to. And we're probably going to be able to do 8. We're probably going to be able to do it with 3 to 4 trades left, maybe even 5 trades. So we'll be there. We probably are going to be able to get the players we like as well, because like guys like Horn Francis and Warple aren't going to take much to upgrade. We're having to say goodbye to guys like Ashcroft and Wangani Malira and Clark Early, but the guys we're getting in for them are great. Radicalier was actually very annoying to get this injury. And I don't know what expected recovery time isn't named yet. if he was playing, I would have kept him. But sadly, the hammies just come at the worst time because we could have had a full 22 this week. But it was not to be. That setback. We'll quickly have a look at the rookies. So I think that go to the 250. We'll do selected to play, selected as emergency. So yeah, looking at this, Ford is definitely the guy you want. Chincotta's probably in the same realm as like Weddle and stuff. You could probably jump on him. If he plays well, he's probably going to keep spot. We do have guys like Long. Long's actually pretty interesting. I hope he doesn't play, or if he does, he's the sub, so he goes down because I think he's got a nice little break even, and he played quite like that's a decent rookie score, 67.51. Boyd could be interesting. But he's played 2, and his first game was really bad. Oh no, it's not too bad. 250k. I don't think you really want to go there with a Carlton player, because they don't really seem to know what they're doing. Ollie Lord could actually be interesting as well. But the only thing I'm worried about him is he kind of moves out for someone like an Evans if he plays a bad game. Mullen we can wait a week on, and the rest of these guys. Probably not people we want to be looking to go down to. Angwin, he's playing as well as the thing with Angwin, and he's had a 61, but he's got the bad bye. He's not going to go up much this week, so we could wait and see, but then you've missed a game, and he's got the bye in round 15, so for most people, probably not someone we're wanting to bring in. Otherwise, it might be just waiting till the guys who come in off of the mid-season draft. McHenry could actually get another run on the bench as a sub, so he could score another bad score and go down money again. So, and if the Crows get an injury in the forward line, McHenry scoring 67, he could actually be a decent pick. He has looked quite good in there, and if he can get a nice position, he should go well. Bulldogs are really sticking with this James O'Donnell. Only 107k now, break even's 14. So, and based on his scores, he's not going to score much. He just seems like a Jester 2.0. But if he goes a big score against like a Geelong, maybe he's starting to really pick it up. We kind of saw it with Weddle where they start off slow and then they pick up. So maybe keep an eye on him, but he's also got the bad bias. So it's just hard. All of these rookies at the moment are in that last bye. And then Smith, obviously, but hasn't played 2 games. Fahey, playing as the sub, so he could potentially go down money. And actually, again, Jack Bytel. Oh no, Bytel's St Kilda the buy, so that's not relevant. But yeah, 41 break even. So if he plays again and scores a 7, he's going down money. So Fahey could actually be going well after the buys, which would be a nice little downgrade. And then the other one we have is Harrison. So the number 1 pickup this week is definitely Ford. And then I'd probably say Wardlaw just because I think job security is pretty good. Thomas Berry has continued to play, something that Sharp was unable to do. Don't go early on Mullen because if you go early, you're probably not going to have much to downgrade to next week if he does continue to play. Otherwise, yeah, it's going to be hard from there because if we go 14, 15, we look at, so there's nothing. Oh, well, obviously round 12 players aren't playing, but if you look at 13, you've got 3 players, and if we take this out, it is very slim picking. There's no one under. Is there anyone under 200? There's 2 players who are actually in teams, being Mullen and Berry, unless this Harrison gets an extended run. So, yeah, we're probably praying for Mullen to get a game next week to keep our cadences going. But I guess that's an issue for us next week. So, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Hopefully you've got something out of this. I've tried to go in depth as possible. If you have got to the end of this, congratulations, you've made it to the end of the video. You might as well give us a subscribe and give us a like, and just in the next one. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.